Hi, this is George Sims, and I'd like to welcome you today to this webinar about the formula for success. And it's been brought to you by myself and the mastermind group From Here to Success, because, you know, the success is a journey, not a destination. And I want to talk about the mastermind concept, because mastermind concept can change your life. Defined by Napoleon Hill in his book Think and Grow Rich, it's the coordination of effort and of knowledge and effort in a spirit of harmony between two or more people for the attainment of a definite purpose. And power is essential for success, and in the accumulation of money, and great power can be accumulated through no other principle. Power is also necessary for the retention of money after it has been accumulated. Money and or power provides us with options. So regardless of what we think about the accumulation of money or how we think that might be too much of a capitalistic or materialistic attitude, really the reason why we need money and or power is to provide us with options so that we can have a more fulfilled lifestyle and help other people. Because without options, we just are pretty much left holding the bag. The point I want to make here is that all the great people in the world who have achieved great things have utilized the power of the mastermind, whether they did it intentionally or not. I always like to tell a little story about Franklin Delano Roosevelt. You know, when he was bringing this country out of the Depression, he actually had Napoleon Hill in the White House, in his office, from 1933 until 1936 to be able to get advice and counsel and mentoring on the idea of the mastermind. And he attributes that concept to helping bring this country out of the Great Depression, because never in the history or since has our country ever had the four elements of the clergy or the church, labor, and the corporate world and the political world so combined in a unified effort to working together. Obviously, it doesn't work that well today. It doesn't seem like, and it hasn't worked that well since. But the power of the mastermind is just all awesome and all ever going. So economic advantages may be created by anybody. So, but my point here is that it doesn't make a difference who we are or what scale we want to use it on, whether we want to use it for a very, very small goal or whether we want to use it to achieve something really great in our lives. The mastermind is a magical concept. You'll hear me talk a little bit more later about another concept that's outlined in the Think and Grow Rich called the auto-suggestion or self-hypnosis. And basically, I've utilized that concept to change myself in my lifetime, and I've used the power of the mastermind to build businesses. So this is a wonderful, wonderful thing. I'm going to go ahead and take my camera off here so that the slides show up a little bit larger, and then we'll just keep right on going. So, talk a little bit about utilizing the formula for success. You know, our group goal, or our mastermind group goal, is to provide a universal formula for success and save its members the time and agony of making useless mistakes in their personal and business lives. You know, we always say that experience is the best teacher. And then some of the wise people say, well, other people's experience is the best teacher. You know, and we should learn as much from our mistakes as we do our failures. I mean, our successes. However, it's awfully nice if we have that mentorship. As I said, I was fortunate to have 3 great mentors in my life, and without them, I'm not sure what I would have done. And years of education, experience, and research in this area drives home the truth to me that our success is a function of the development of ourselves as individuals and the vehicle that we choose for our journey of success. And, you know, being an ex-engineer of 40 years ago, probably, or 35 years ago, I kind of like to express things in terms of formula. It makes it simple for me. So I say that our success is equal to the individual, us as individuals, times the summation of M plus E plus F plus P plus S times the vehicle that we choose times the summation of S plus V plus D. Well, let's see what all that means. Number one, the individuals, that's for individual. M would be for mental, E for emotional, F for financial, P for physical, S, that should be S for spiritual. We have a little typo there. And V for vehicle, and S for suitability, and V for viability, and D for dependability. Now, if we were to take a close look at that in a graphical form, that makes a little bit more sense, because we actually divide the individual into 5 distinct categories, or elements, or aspects of our life: the mental, emotional, physical, financial, and spiritual. And then also, when we're evaluating and working a vehicle, is we want to worry about the suitability of that vehicle to us, and the viability of that vehicle, and the reliability. And when we talk about spiritual, we really don't get into religion. What we talk about there is the ability to believe in ourselves, the ability to believe in a concept, and we'll talk about that more later also. What we say here is that the vehicle must never be the limiting element in our success. The height of our success should be limited only by our ability to develop the mental, emotional, spiritual, physical, and financial aspects of our being. I liken it to being a bicycle race, and I'm going from point A to point B, and I want to get from point A to point B as fast or in the most efficient manner possible. Well, I want that result to be dependent upon how hard and how fast I can pedal that bicycle, and not on whether or not it breaks down or I have problems with it. So that's really an analogy there. Now, when we're utilizing this formula, there are 3 things we need to know. Number one, we don't really need to understand it a lot and try to remember all that stuff right now, because you'll remember it later. So the important part number 2 is, by utilizing the mastermind concept, everything everyone needs is available at their fingertips. Because what we have here is that we have the counsel of other people to provide us with the information that we don't already have. And that's the great thing about a mastermind. I have a 12-person mastermind group right now, and if I don't know something, I can go to that group and pretty much find out exactly what I need to know, or where to find what I need to know, and I've utilized that concept all my life. So again, experience is the best teacher, but the coordination of knowledge and effort and spirit of harmony between 2 or more people makes that experience valuable and available to us. So important point number 3, by understanding and utilizing the concept of the mastermind, any higher level of success is attainable. So I don't really care what level you are accomplishing at right now. You may be starting out in your career, you may be the president of a company, you may have had tremendous success. But I know this with 35 plus years of experience. So it doesn't make any difference what level you're operating at right now. By utilizing the mastermind concept better, then you can achieve higher levels that you would like to achieve. If we utilize this concept of the mastermind, then our success is just a simple 2-step process. Step number 1 is, first we choose the correct vehicle. Why? Because we don't want it to be the limiting element. And then number 2, we develop the mental, emotional, spiritual, physical, and financial aspects of our being to the highest degree possible, or to as high a degree as we want it to be. Now, at this point, we're going to assume that you already have the perfect vehicle, and if you don't, that's okay, because we have options available, and we can address that in a private coaching sessions later on if desired. So, since the vehicle must never be the limiting factor in our success, we want to talk about the selection of the vehicle first. And remember, there's 3 elements when we talk about suitability, viability, and dependability. So let's take a look at suitability. Well, first of all, are our jobs, our businesses suitable for us? And are we suited for our jobs or our businesses? So in other words, how much do we need to know or learn in order to be able to do what we're trying to do? What are our existing aptitudes and abilities and aptitudes? And do we already know, or can we even learn? The other thing is that we need to be aware of our own personality profile. I've used the concept of the DISC personality profile most of my life to evaluate myself and other people, if they so desire. You know, the sad part about it is many of us choose our life's work or our life's job or business based upon immediate emotion without any objective feedback whatsoever. So number one, we want to know, first of all, what our personality profile is, and plus we want to know what basically the type of personality profile is going to best do well in whatever vehicle it is that we're trying to use. Then, of course, we also want to always consider not only our individual needs and desires, but that of our family. You know, what do they need? What do they need from us? Are we taking away from them doing what we are already doing? Are we adding to their fulfillment in their lifestyle? And then, of course, last but certainly not least, is our own personal enjoyment. Do we like what we're doing? Is going to work every day going to work, or is it going to play? You know, and I know from experience, because I've had it both ways. If we don't love what we do every single day, then life can be very miserable. And unfortunately, most of us just kind of put up with it because we think that's what we're supposed to do. Now let's talk about the viability element of the success vehicle. Well, first of all, the first thing we have to do is acknowledge that the internet has changed the way we do business. And I'm a firm believer that we want to have a business of some type. Now, I didn't get a lot into detail earlier, but, you know, one of my mentors that I had years and years ago that taught me how to build residual incomes told me, he said, George, you know, if you'll do two things in your life, and this was back when I was first getting into financial services, financial planning, etc. And he said, George, if you'll do two things in your life, then there'll be the best financial planning that you can ever have. He said, number one is what you want to do is you want to save 10% of your income and set it aside for your retirement, whenever that is going to be, and you never touch that for anything. Now that sounds obvious because, you know, but how many of us do it? I know for a fact that, you know, from my 30 years plus of experience, that less than 20% of the people out there actually do that. The second thing he said to do is to start yourself either as a primary or a secondary income, a home-based business where you can generate an immediate tax benefits and long-term residual income, which will offset the risk of whatever it is that you've done with your primary business, either your job or your business. So what we want to do then is consider all these different elements and consider that the internet has changed the way we do business. And we want to consider the effort versus the reward. In other words, if we pedal that bicycle fast and long and hard, is it going to reward us with a fast trip, or is it going to break down? And we have to do that from ourselves, both from an emotional, mental, emotional, and physical and financial aspect, because we also must leverage some combination of capital, people, and time to achieve great financial success. So let's think about that a little bit. Let's go down, because we're going to talk about it in three different ways. Number one, maybe we have a job. Number two, maybe we have a traditional business. And number three, maybe we're involved in network marketing or affiliate marketing, which, by the way, you know, I've said internet has changed the way we do business. You know, affiliate marketing is not only the thing of the way of the future now, but is the thing of the present. You can go right now to any and get an affiliate marketing contract with almost any major retail store in the world. So it's changed the way we're doing business. So let's go back now and look at this formula of S equals C times P times T, which is capital, people, and time. So let's say we have a job and we're a young person. You know, if we save that 10% of our income and invest it over a long period of time, so that's capital, that's money, times people, that's one of us, so it's going to be one. So it's going to be whatever we invest times one of us times whatever amount of time. Well, if we've got 30 years for that to grow, you can see that that can end up being a lot of money. But on the other hand, let's assume that we're maybe 50 years old and we haven't done the job that we should have done. Now we don't have a lot of capital or seed or money sitting there, and we've still only got one of us, and we don't have much time. So it's impossible for us to accumulate a lot of money by ourselves if we are already 50 years of age and we don't have a lot of time left to accumulate before retirement, and it's just one of us that's putting it in there. So you see, that formula is so important. Now let's go over and talk a little bit more about traditional business. If we own a company, then we have the ability, or a traditional business, we have the ability to leverage, don't we? Because now we have to make an initial investment, but if you can see the people, we leverage people by leveraging employees. So if we have multiple stores or multiple employees, then we can make up for a lot of lost time. However, it takes a lot of capital or a lot of money to invest in those to get those started. So we have to consider that in our formulas. Now, let's take the network marketer, affiliate marketers. Then basically what we're able to do there is that with a smaller amount of money, then we can leverage people, because we can have other people who own their own independent or network marketing or affiliate marketing operations or home-based businesses, multiplying, serving the same purposes as employees do in the traditional markets, and we can make up for the loss of time. Now, if we have 30 years, that's wonderful, and we can have a lot less activity and make a lot more money over a period of time. So all I'm saying here is this is a function. We always have to remember that we must have some form of leveraging, whether it's capital, people, or time, or some combination, or any combination of the above is important for us to consider. Now, for me, I personally want to have a vehicle that has some form of duplication and multiplication, whether it's money or people, either one, because you can't multiply time. There's just no way. And the other thing is you can never recover, because if I can have multiplication and duplication of either people and or money, then that provides us, and it provides us with some type of repeating or residual income, then that's the ideal situation. Now, let's talk about dependability. Again, this is one of the areas where so many people never really think about the trends in the marketplace, and they pick their business based upon emotion or based upon something that they already know how to do. And that doesn't mean that we should rule out that, but we should at least consider objectively the dependability of whatever it is that we're wanting to do, and what's that going to look like 5, 10, 15 years from now to pay us our due for the effort that we've put in. Because remember, the viability is all about return versus the effort we put in. So we need to really pay attention to market trends or market longevity, because there's some markets out there that are very trendy, some are not trendy at all. And there's some businesses that work in all different type of market trends, and some businesses that work basically based upon people's needs, based upon people's needs and wants. And if they're based upon people's needs, then that's a pretty consistent dependability. If it's based upon people's wants, then it may also be pretty dependable, but you see that may also be trendy depending upon the economic times. So in addition to all that, we need to really pay attention and have an objective evaluation of the management that we're involved in, whether we're involved with them as in a job situation, or whether we're involved with them in a business situation, a traditional marketing situation. Maybe we're considering a franchise. Very, very important. Maybe we're considering network marketing or affiliate marketing. It's still very, very important to evaluate that management. And the thing I always warn people here about is that don't evaluate them based upon the propaganda that they're putting out. because that's what we normally, a lot of us listen to. So what we want to really do there is that we want to, again, call up on our masterminds, take concepts, and reach out, and to get objective evaluation of those, that management of whatever it is that we're considering. So now, we've talked about the vehicle and the viability and the suitability and the reliability of that. And remember again, that must never be a limiting element, because we only want to be limited by how much we can develop ourselves. So let's go talk about that a little bit. And before I do, because what we're really talking about here is we're talking about the process of personal development. You know, and we're really talking about the difference, or the conscious versus the subconscious mind. Because, you know, we may direct ourselves on a daily basis based upon what we're thinking about consciously, but overall, what's in our subconscious is going to determine our long-term outcome, because we may overrule what's in our subconscious for one day. We may overrule it for a couple hours. We may overrule it for a few days. But whatever's down there is eventually going to win out. So the secret here is that the only way that we can replace that, that what's in our subconscious mind is through a concept that's outlined in Think and Grow Rich called autosuggestion, or through self-hypnosis. That's the only way. I mean, you know, different people call it different things, but Think and Grow Rich has enabled thousands and thousands of people to literally change their lives since it was originally written in the early 1930s. And Napoleon Hill basically says that anything the mind of man can conceive and believe, it can be achieved. And I changed my life using that book, and also continued by utilizing the cup course. And I've shared this message with hundreds of people over those 30 plus years, who have also had, some of them have also had great success. So the cup course is called Claim Your Unlimited Potential. And that teaches many of the same principles through a different medium, which is a faster and more efficient process than the autosuggestion. So by implementing these two concepts, we're able to start the process of preparing ourselves personally for our journey of success. And, you know, for ages, philosophers have made the statement that man is the master of his own earthly destiny. But most of us have failed to explain why. Well, or maybe even they've explained why, but they haven't explained how. Because people may become the master of themselves and their environment because they have the power to influence their own subconscious mind. And, you know, I may have understood this before I read the Think and Grow Rich, or if I was exposed to the cup course. But the problem I had is that I knew that I didn't have the right thinking to be successful. Not because I was just naive. I mean, it wasn't because I had the wrong thinking necessarily. So what I finally learned is that to be able to learn how to change, and how to be able to control our own destiny, how to be able to control our own environment. And that can be done by controlling, to a degree, the material which reaches the subconscious mind through the five senses. So if you haven't read the book yet, The Secret by Rhonda Bryan. There's also some CDs that are out about that by Bob Proctor. The concept there is conceive, believe, and receive. So, and remember, from the Think and Grow Rich, it's think and grow rich, not work and grow rich. So what we want to talk about is the information, is about the concepts, the strategies, and the personal business strategies. And when we talk about that, we want to talk about specific knowledge versus general knowledge. You know, I went back to engineering school when I was 25 years old after the service to get my engineering management degree. And then I worked on my MBA, at the University of Louisville. And, you know, from that I got a lot of general knowledge. And then since then I've learned a lot of general knowledge. But it wasn't until I met one specific mentor that I learned the specific knowledge that I needed in order to accomplish the goals that I wanted to accomplish. So we want to pay really close attention to the specific knowledge versus the general knowledge, and that's what we offer here with the mastermind group from Here to Success. What we want to provide for you is to be able to provide the specific knowledge necessary for you to achieve your life's goals and dreams, and we do that through webinars and mentoring. So how do we do that? Well, we provide seminars, webinars, personal counseling, mentoring, coaching, and we talk about those things of how do we feel versus how do we direct ourselves to feel. And one of the things we must ask ourselves right now is our level of belief sufficient to inspire others? And how do we really feel about money and prosperity? You know, a lot of people have stinking thinking, as some people have said in the past, about the attitude about money and prosperity and whether or not it's good or evil, or, you know, who's doing the good in the world. So we address those things like desire and persistence and how to develop enthusiasm and how to set goals and how to provide ourselves with more self-confidence if we don't already have it, and address our fear of success. You know, most people say, well, I'm not afraid of success. Oh yes, most of us are, and we don't even really know how to address it. How do we make decisions better? You know, our fear of failure. How do we have more willpower? And of course, we also talk about our aura, and that's where the CUP course comes in. And part of the offering of from the Here to Success Mastermind Group is that we offer a course called the CUP course, and that's a 12-month course that we'll talk about a little bit later, and it can be accessed at thecupcourse.com. So now let's talk about the financial aspect of our individual development, and we've already touched on this a little bit. And I want to tell you that even though I spent 30 years, plus years in the area of financial services, building organizations, I was agency director for an insurance company. I owned my own brokerage agency for a while. I recruited and trained financial advisors. I've done about everything there is to do in the financial services industry, except work for a bank. So I want to tell you that these are not my opinions. This is not professional advice I'm going to give you here. These are my opinions, but they're based upon that 30-plus years of experience and things I learned. And one of the major things I learned is most people do not control their finances. They let their financials control them. And again, I talked a few minutes ago about the answer is just a simple two-step process. I've already told you about my mentor a little bit. Number one is pay yourself first. And you say, well, that's easy. Well, the secret is that most people will say, well, George, I don't have 10% left over after I pay my bills. Well, the secret is we must pay ourselves first and make that the first payment every single paycheck. And the secret is we will live as well off the 90% as we would have off the 100. Now, I know most people don't believe that, but it's true. You don't have to believe it. I'm just telling you it's true. And I 30-some years of experience in dealing with financial services industry, I know it to be true. I know it in my own situation to be true. So the second is to have a home-based business, secondary or primary, which offers immediate and long-term tax benefits along with residual income. A lot of people say, don't want a home-based business. Well, it's one of the greatest family securities that there is if a person will learn how to properly run a home-based business. And it's so easy, you can do it in a very, very small amount of time per week. So the physical aspect, we say that everybody and everybody deserves great health. I'm a stage 4 cancer survivor, and I can tell you, I realize that if we don't have our health, we don't have anything. And I know that one of the top reasons for bankruptcy, personal bankruptcy, is illness. I know I was out of the workforce for 3 years. I understand that. If I hadn't had some residual income, I'd have probably been one of those people. So most experts agree when it comes to health, and remember I said it, I was no health expert, but I think that most experts would agree that the three most important elements in our health are heredity, diet, and physical activity. and we only have control of 2 of the 3. However, we do have the ability to offset some degree of the impact of the 3rd. And I am a firm believer as an ex-engineer, you probably already know that I'm a researcher. So after having cancer, I am a firm believer that our best chance of having a healthy body is to have healthy blood, which means that we need to supplement whatever we're doing. And I'm living proof of that, not only in the cancer relation to the cancer, but in other areas also. And so now, what we always say is that a success vehicle that provides opportunity for personal, physical, and financial wellness would certainly make sense. Now let's talk about the spiritual aspect of our being a little bit. And we don't get into religion, as I said. We address our individual ability to believe. And we're talking about here the ability to believe in ourselves. And we're talking about the ability to believe in any concept to a sufficient extent to endure. And with the ability to believe in others and the ability to believe in a higher power. We have to go back to the secret again. And this secret is not just something that Ron Bryan came up with. It's age old. Napoleon Hill talked about it in his first book called The Law of Success. First we must conceive or think of something, and then we must believe, and then we will receive. So now we've talked about the success formula. We've covered the vehicle, and we've covered the elements of the personal development. So what we want to do is invite you to join, or consider joining our From Here to Success Mastermind group. This is a free private meetup group. If you've never heard of meetup.com, it's a private meetup group, and you can access that group by just going to FromHereToSuccess.info. Now, that's the meetup group. If you want to go actually to the more information about the From Here to Success Mastermind group, you can go to FromHereToSuccess.com, and that'll take you over to my webpage where you can find more about that. We also invite you to attend a free Claim Your Unlimited Potential, or a Cup Course seminar webinar. And that is usually given on Mondays, and you can find out more information at that at thecupcourse.com. We also invite you to attend a free business opportunity overview if you do not already have the perfect vehicle. Now, I want to make sure here you understand that if you already have your perfect vehicle, we're not going to be trying to recruit you into some other opportunity or to push a personal vehicle on you. We're talking about here everybody being able to achieve their goals and dreams. If you don't have that perfect vehicle and want to consider something else or looking for something, then that's always available within our mastermind group. We'll also be providing additional webinars as we go along about personal communication, interaction, about how to optimize, business networking events, about sales psychology models, about all different types of things. So they'll be contained both in the personal development and business development arenas. Now, some of those seminars are free, or most of them are free, and a few will have fees attached to them. So that concludes our presentation here on the formula for success provided to you by George Sims and the Mastermind Group. You can see down there that I've provided my personal contact information, and which is George Sims, and that's spelled with one M, 502-821-8094. And my email is simply george@georgesims.com. And you can go to my personal webpage if you'd like at georgesims.com to learn more about me, what I'm about, if we don't already know each other. And you can go to FromHereToSuccess.com to find out more about the Mastermind. And this is George Sims signing off with you on the Gulf Coast here of southern Alabama. Southern Mississippi. Even though I do live in Kentucky, so Can't forget that I'm a good old Kentucky boy. So I'll talk with you later, and have a great day.